Welcome into the Big Blue Breakdown episode number 5 here on the podcast. Today we have along with us.
Kaz Clay.
He is the host of Prime Time Pod. Go check him out on YouTube or on Spotify or
Thurston.
wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to go. Yep, right there. Make sure to also go and follow this podcast on social media, wherever you have social media, X, Instagram, or TikTok. It is at Big Blue _ Breakdown. We're going to start posting and live updates during games. Today is a hard topic to talk about. Man, Kentucky
We got
goes
sold.
down. Yeah. Kentucky goes down to Athens, Georgia, and loses 82-69. So we just want to address something first here. So basically, this episode, we're going to be talking about the game. First thing is going to be about the refs and the game in total. Stats. We're actually going to talk about a little bit about the Tennessee-Florida game. And then we're going to talk about Caleb Wilison possibly committing, and that will wrap up the show. But okay, so I'm not usually a person to say that the refs won or lost us the game, and I don't think they lost us this game, but there was a lot of I don't want to say missed calls. There was a lot of just not great officiating in this game. Kaz, I just want to get your opinion on this game and from the officiating side of things.
Well, when one team shoots 40 free throws, I think that's a little bit of a problem.
Yeah,
Obviously, I think 40 free throws seems a little excessive.
yeah.
But again, we didn't shoot well. I don't think we shot the ball well
I
at
think we
all.
shot like
To
in
be
the
honest.
30%.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't shoot the ball well at all, in my opinion, at least. I don't think we played very efficient. Again, looked a little stagnant. Definitely with our defense, looked a lot of good pressures. We couldn't really move the ball in the middle. Got trapped up a lot. Kind of got flustered at some points, and that obviously didn't help. I believe leading scorer was Lamont. Yes, with 20.
Yeah.
He had
He had a good
24 and
game.
3. Again, Jaxson 5. One big thing I talked about last time I was on here was when Jaxson can break out, that's when we're going to win games, and
Yeah.
obviously that didn't happen. So I'm no not off of one player. I don't mean that in a bad way, but when Jaxson breaks out, that I mean you got your whole backcourt kind of running. I mean I'd say he's probably about a wing height, but he's really more of a guard. Definitely after Kirk Creasaw went out, so he
Yeah.
kind of took over
Yeah.
there. But I think in general, I mean, if they're both hitting on all cylinders, even though Tega, I mean, he didn't play his best game against Georgia, but he still was efficient enough to stick around and make some good plays. So
Yeah. So I'm not going to stay on the rest for too long. There was one specific play that I want to mention, and I don't have it up on the screen here. But
the
I don't know if
flop,
you, I don't know if you see, yeah, in midair flop, Jaxson went up to get offensive rebound, didn't even touch the guy, and just flopped in the air and got a call. Another one that I can think of was there was a social media post where I think Lamont and I believe Brandon Garrison were closing out on a three. Guy jumped up, jumped in Lamont's space, and fell down, and the ref wasn't looking and called a foul call. There's one there. Um, I just feel like they were able to be more physical, but then when we wanted to push back, there was something against us. You know what I mean?
well,
So
in sports they talk about home cooking, so that's I
yeah,
wouldn't say there's a little bit there.
yeah,
Obviously, in SEC rules, you can't have anybody that went to the university to call their games, but looked a little bit like it. Looked a little bit partial. But
yeah,
again, I don't think the refs really affected it as much as people think. Just because I mean, it'd be different if we were shooting 55%, 60%. When you're shooting 30%, you're not gonna make tons of shots, and I
yeah,
don't think the rest was affected enough. I mean, we lost by what, 13 points?
yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, the refs can affect some things, definitely in closer games, but when you're shooting 30%, you're kind of looking for something to, go against, which I get that can cause problems. But when you're shooting 30%, you can't really expect much positive out of that alone. And then when your refs aren't helping you, then that could also cause some more problems. But when you're shooting 30%, it's not gonna help your case.
yeah. I mean, I completely agree, and I'll get to the reasons why. Like, put the refs aside, and we'll get to those reasons. There is one ref that was out there. He and I'm not making this up. His name is Orlando Brown. He's being investigated for a gambling thing in the NBA. So why should he be reffing any games right now? You know what I mean? It was bad. It was bad. There were bad calls. There were bad moments, but I just needed to get that out. There was some poor, I think, poor decisions. So had to get that out of my system. Now I want to talk about outside of the refs. Kentucky shot in the 30% in this game. Any game that Kentucky has shot 40 or under, they have lost. I think 40 is kind of the magic number for Kentucky. You shoot 40%, they have won. Jaxson, I'm just waiting on that game, man. Waiting on that breakout game. Because you've seen it at BYU if you watch the film. You've seen it at BYU. I'm kind of waiting for him to break out. And my last point outside of the refs again is, again, put the rest aside. We just got out physical. We got outmanned. We got out physical. We have to be stronger. We have to be able to, they shot, how many free throws did they shoot? 30, 39, you said? Something like that?
High 30s.
High 30, yeah.
They shot 40 free throws is what I saw, which is bananas, which is crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
when you expect that, and then on the other side you're shooting 30%, that doesn't help, and you're not getting many offensive rebounds either. I mean, we could not. They got so many second chance points. It seemed
Yeah.
like, at least to me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, second half we just shut down. Definitely those last like 5 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
Looked awful.
For
As
sure.
far as the offensive side of the ball, we looked terrible.
Yeah.
So
The thing that kills me is I feel like, I mean, we've won the big games. It's kind of handling these, these kind of scrappy, almost pretty good, almost like great teams that are just not quite there yet. And don't get me wrong, Georgia was a good team. Georgia has the good pieces. Asa Newell is a really good player. Santos Serial, even though he only had 6 points, affected this game. Former Kentucky commit, by the way. Just we got out physical, and I feel like with this SEC play, we're gonna have to win games like this on the road. Was one of our best shots to steal one on the road, because Saturday it's gonna be tough. Mississippi State.
It's gonna be loud in there too.
Yeah, it's gonna be a better team than Georgia, I think.
Well, I did say on Tuesday, I said I feel like this is one that might slip, and it did. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna come back a lot more prepared, hopefully, for Saturday, just because the ones we slipped kind of were like, not saying out of the blue, but I feel like we're gonna kind of have more preparation and have more things prepared to get ready for Saturday, because now we have to get locked in for conference. I think there's a lot more meaning to those losses too. Obviously, with the stacked SEC, you can't probably drop more than I'd say 6 or 7 to get a good seeding. So we need to lock in and win these next few games. Definitely road games will be tough. I know Rep will be jumping when we're back at home, but we got to take a few on the road at least. Definitely against teams like Georgia, but I knew that'd be a tough one, because their crowd was raucous, and then I knew they had Asa Newell's the top recruit to go to Georgia since Anthony Edwards. So that was a tough team, and I knew that going in.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull up just real quick, just so we can look at it, the box score here. If I can get this pulled up. Well, maybe I can't hear. But the one bright spot was, to me, Lamont Butler. He's still proving.
But don't we expect that from him at this point? I feel like.
Yeah.
That seems a little rough, but I feel like we kind of expect that from him at this point.
Right. I believe the other one has to be Brandon Garrison. He looked pretty good at some points, guys. And that's not saying anything against, Amari or anything. But to me, I thought Brandon kind of gave us a spark. We seen it. I think the most that we came back in this game was 55-50 in the second half, right? We were down by 5, and Brandon Garrison kind of led us on a run there. So here, Butler had 20, 8 for 14, 3 for 4 from free throws. Look, I want to kind of look at more of the team stats here. Field goal percentage 37.5, while Georgia shot 41.8. Again, that 40% mark is where Kentucky has kind of its magic. That's kind of where we've been living to win games. And again, a game that we lost, we shot 25 threes and made 6. They only made one more than us. To me, and I know it's a lot, but we have the guys to do it, and we've seen it each game. I think there has to be a number to get to for threes for us. That number for me has been around 8 or 10. And we have the guys to do it. We have the best shooter in college basketball. And Jaxson Robinson, hopefully, if he can step up, I think can be that. And just crazy. Crazy what we can do with the 3-point shot. Just got to get him to fall, especially on the road. 38 free throws here for Georgia. That's really the game right there. 38 free throws. They made 29. That's 29 points right there. It's 30 points right there for them. Field goal percentage, you see them right here. 3-point percentage. Turnovers. We turn the ball over a lot. And that's usually something Kentucky does. That's not something this year that has been a problem for the Cats, but was. Again, 41 rebounds. Got out physical. Just kind of played poorly in this one, to say the very least. That's what kind of just made me upset.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it did say we won the offensive rebounding battle, but I think getting less than 15, 18 offensive rebounds, like we both got what, 12, 13. But I think
Yeah.
even we need to make them turn the ball over more. We're turning the ball over too much, in my opinion, which we do that a lot. But the thing is, I think a lot of teams nowadays play fast, a lot of penetrating pitch off of the top of the key and
Yeah.
tons of stuff like that. And at least of what I see,
Yeah.
a lot of things of fast screens, motions, a lot of just different things drawn up as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I think that our offense obviously can turn it around if Jaxson can break out and hopefully have the game that we all expect him to. I think he's the best player on the team if he plays how he can. Which I know that's kind of a bold take because Lamont's obviously the best right now. But if you look at how Jaxson started off the year, I thought he played really good in the first few
Yeah.
games, and
Yeah.
then he'd something a flip switched, and he just kind of cooled off. But
Yeah.
I think if he gets back to how he was at the beginning of the year, even if you go back to BYU, which I know that's not a SEC, but I mean he was cooking over there, and that was one of Pope's main gets to come to Kentucky. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying just the scoring aspect is what we need of him, but
Right.
I think
Right.
that's one of the main things he can bring to the table too.
Yeah. So just to finalize this game here, not the greatest game. First, we need to bounce back. And it was kind of a tough loss because we're not going to have many great shots at bouncing back on the road. So what kind of held us back was Andrew Carr not having a good game. Otega Owe, he didn't have the greatest game, but consistently he's had over 10 points in every game, 12 points this game. Lamont had a good game again. Brandon Garrison had a nice spot here, 13 points. And you kind of hope to see Kobe shoot better just because he can shoot better. He had 6 points in this game and went 2 from 9 from 3-point land. It's kind of unexpected to see him do that, but that is basically the recap of the game. Refs didn't help, and we played a very poor game executing wise. But yeah, I mean that's really all I got to say about this one. We got to make it up with another game on the road, and we're gonna have opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, going to Mississippi State, not a great place to come off a loss. Definitely with how they've been playing. They've been playing pretty electric lately. And a lot of people don't talk about those or the bottom of the road, but even like South Carolina and Mississippi State, I mean, all the teams at SEC, even if they're at the bottom, are really solid and very good teams. I mean, if you look at all their records, the standings are stacked right now.
Right.
And which I know this is kind of early to think about this, but I was looking at the roster last night or the night before, and it was just crazy to see how it was like senior, or like graduate student. I mean, we have what, two or three guys maybe coming back, Otega and Brandon Garrison, and
Yeah.
maybe Kirk Creasall, but I don't know if he's a
Well,
senior or not.
yeah, the two freshmen, Travis Perry and or Colin
Well,
Chandler
yeah,
too.
I'm just trying to think of who. I'm just trying to think of who's like mainly contributing this year. Which Travis has stepped in great for Kirk Creasall, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, as main players, we're losing a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know it's really early, but the few guys that Pope have brought in, which you'll probably get into within the next few ish month to a month and a half, but uh, we got a good class coming in. I don't think that's going to really stop. I think he's going to keep bringing in talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and a big thing was, Cal took Carter Knox and took a few of his Kentucky players. The arrows looked. I know this is not very Kentucky-ish, but I thought the arrows looked really good at Arkansas the other night. As far as
Yeah.
building out, I think some of our guys, if they could get a little bit more built out, I feel like he's even Jaxson, he looks a little thin. Just my opinion, But I think if you got a little bit, some of our guards are just. I feel like on the perimeter they're very good. I just think around the basket, we kind of have to rely on our bigs a little bit too much. Like Otega is really strong. I feel like he's really able to control the game. No knock on Jaxson or any of them, but it's just I think the strength is a big difference and a big plus that a guard can have in this modern type of game.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to do this before we jump to the Tennessee Florida game, which was basically the only thing good to go for Kentucky. Uh, the night of the Georgia loss, Kentucky play their next three games. They play all ranked teams at Mississippi State, 14th ranked team, 14-1. Kentucky currently sits at 12-3, 1-1 in conference. Mississippi State is 2-0 in conference. Then Kentucky has number 10 Texas A&M at home. It's good to have that game at home. And then you got number 5 Alabama at home. And then at Vandy, which is obviously everybody in the SEC is going to be a challenge. And then you got right after that at Tennessee. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But
Yeah,
another good thing that happened was Arkansas is 0-2 in the SEC now. They lost to Ole
that
Miss at
is.
home. Yep.
I did watch that game. That was
Yep.
kind of surprising to me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I actually
I don't know.
predicted Arkansas to win that game.
I don't know if my claim is standing up anymore about Arkansas being one of the tough teams. I mean, they got the talent to do it, but man, they can't stick with any offense. Like their
That's what
defense
we've
is
been saying
okay,
at
but they
Kentucky
can't
for the last
score.
10 years.
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying
Yeah.
our offense can't keep up,
No, yeah, I
or
understand
their
that.
offense can't keep up.
Right.
Um,
You want to jump into
but
Tennessee game?
yeah,
Crazy. Crazy game.
that was on to be honest, I saw the halftime report score and I was like, whoa, this
Scored
is very
15 in the
surprising.
first half, I believe. 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. A final score ended up being 73-43. 30-point win for the Florida Gators, which kind of makes us look a little bit better when the team that you just beat
Yeah.
blows out the number one team in the country by 30. It also shows that the SEC is wide open this year. Wide open.
That's what I was saying. Every night, something else can change. It's always gonna be a teeter totter. Something's gonna change.
Yeah.
One else thing's gonna. I mean, it doesn't matter who you play. It's it's gonna be a dogfight.
Yeah.
And pun
Yeah.
intended. That happened with the dogs the other night. I mean, they were ready to roll and their crowd was roaring. So obviously, Rap Arena is one of the toughest place to play. That's why our record at home is so good. But on the road, we can't steal many now because all the teams are so good. And obviously,
Yeah.
when the teams are good, the fans will show up. So
Yeah.
it's kind of how it goes.
Yeah. Totally agree. But yeah, again, it just shows how wide open the SEC is with a 30-point victory as the number one team. Kind of flipping back to Kentucky, they're going to have to get hot at some point
Yeah,
and take some games that we really shouldn't and win because we're going to need it. I think the goal for us to get to the SEC tournament as a top 4 seed, because then you get a bye in the SEC tournament. I think you get there and the regular season is viewed as successful. If you get a top 4 seed in the SEC, that means I think you're pretty daggone good. Um, those teams are going to be elite. Kentucky can get there. I think we have a really good shot at doing something in the tournament and the NCAA tournament. Some things that we have to figure out is physicality. How are we going to match that? Another thing is just playing on the road in general. 2 losses on the road now. Um, I want to technically say 1 win on the road. Gonzaga, I mean, it wasn't at their home floor, but it was in uh, Spokane, Washington. So I don't know. I think we just have to clean up. We have to be more physical, simple, and we have to find a way to win a couple games on the road.
Yeah, I
Last
think
thing,
that's kind
yeah,
of. Oh, sorry. I'm
no,
sorry.
you're good, man. Go ahead.
I think that's kind of a key. Obviously, you only have so many games at home, and if you're dropping all those games on the road, it's not going to help your record. Obviously, number one, but you can't guarantee so many home wins. So even with a tough crowd at home, any SEC team can come in there and beat you.
Yeah,
So you got to be ready night in night out wherever you play, whenever you play. Be ready. No matter if you're at home or away, you have to come with the same mindset of it's going to be a fight, and you got to go win the game. No matter if it's Vandy, no matter if it's Tennessee, because Florida just 30-pieced them, so
right,
anything can happen. There's a
right.
lot of there's a lot of open doors. It's like a revolving door.
Yep. So last thing before we get on to a possible commitment here soon from a big time high school recruit for Kentucky. Um, the last thing that I wanted to say was this is coming from, I don't know if you know him. It's called Field of 68. And this is basically what they said for Kentucky this year. It's going to be nearly impossible for any team to come to Rupp and beat us. And it's also going to be really daggone hard for Kentucky to go on the road and get a win. To me, how I kind of look at it is, yes, we're going to play some really good teams at home, but let's just kind of say we win all our home games, right? What teams can we pick off on the road to get a couple of wins? Because we're going to need to. Because 9-9 would be the record if we lost all our road games and and won all of our home games. So pick a couple off, and I think we'll be sitting pretty well. Again, it's going to be hard to because now the Mississippi State game is even bigger, right? Because you have to kind of fill that loss against Georgia. That's kind of how I see it. But last thing here is Caleb Wilison, supposed to be committing anytime this month. His recruitment is now down to Kentucky and UNC. I think it's per Jack Pilgrim, leaning towards Kentucky and Mark Pope. His recruitment has lasted a while. He's a 5-star power forward. Could really help Kentucky on the defensive end in 2026. Really big time recruitment and would be a really big win. So just kind of want to let everybody know the latest intel on him is anytime this month. He's picking between Kentucky and North Carolina. He's a 5-star recruit, leaning towards Kentucky's way. It'd just be a big time pickup for the Cats. I believe he's like 6'8". Believe he's lefty as well. Powerful finisher. Great big body, and I think he'd be a big get. But to me, that is going to wrap up today's episode of the Big Blue Breakdown, episode number 5. Again, go check us out on Instagram, TikTok, and X, Big Blue _breakdown, and check out Kaz's podcast, Prime Time Pod. Thank you, Kaz, for joining us.
No problem, as always.
All right, go Cats.